Okay, we've done our settings, we've had a good look around, we kind of know how to use the platform. Now it's time to set up our quote templates. And the reason that we're setting up quote templates is because I don't want you to waste a shitload of time repeating and typing the same things over and over. And I want you to be able to grab an iPad and head out to site and put in either your measurements or your items or your hours that you need and ping quotes out straight away. I want to make things super fast so that you're not coming back to the office. And if you are coming back to the office to finish quotes, that all of the grunt work has been done. That you've added photos to the quote, you have added the plans to the quote, that you've put all of your workings in there so that if you finish the job in 4 months' time, or even better, we send the quote today, it takes 4 months before we even get close to starting on site. In your head, you don't have to remember any of it because all the information is kept in Tradify for us. And then 3 months after that, we actually finish the job. And then a couple months after that, the client has some bullshit come or clawbacks on you and tries to bring up some shit that maybe is blaming for yourself that was actually another trade. You can go back in and say, well, 8 months ago, here's the photos of how the site looked before I started. That's not on me, that's on somebody else. So this is why we are bringing everything into Tradify. But let's get into our quote templates. So we're going to hit templates on the left-hand side. And you'll see here that I've got a couple drafts. You've probably fiddled around with some drafts at the moment, but we're going to scroll across the top tab to our templates. Now, once we have built out a couple templates, we will be able to go new quote from a template. Any quotes that we send will be sitting in waiting acceptance. Obviously, any that are won, declined, and cancelled will be automatically moved across into the right tabs. Now, this is super handy, and something that Xero doesn't do, and the other platforms that you're quoting out of doesn't do, is that you will be able to have some KPIs. You'll be able to see how many quotes you have sent that are waiting acceptance versus how many quotes that have been accepted or declined in the period. So, and the period being the month or the quarter or the year. It's really handy data for you to know to be able to not only record what's actually happened as far as invoices, but you'll be able to preempt what's coming up by the amount of quotes you've sent already versus the number of quotes you win on average. So it becomes a game about data as opposed to a game about luck and chance. All right, let's build a quote template. Now you can select new template, and I'm going to use the one that we have prefabbed already. This is what I call a residential template. If you do resi and commercial work, you might want to start with a residential and then a commercial. If you are a pool concreter, you may just choose to have a single site or just a generic quote template. If you do only timber frames as a carpenter, you may have one for residential single dwelling. You may have one for residential 2 dwellings, one for residential 8 dwellings. You get the idea. If you do steel and timber frames, you might have residential timber frame 1 dwelling, residential steel frame 1 dwelling, so that you can adjust your templates accordingly. But you may very well have 10, 12, 13 templates to choose from, or 1 or 2. It really depends on how many times you are writing and repeating yourself. Every time you repeat yourself a few times, you want to go and build a template so that you don't have to retype that and do that manual labor component. Excellent. So this is your template will be left with nothing in here, and it will have no details down the bottom. What you will do is you will add a line or time item. And previously we touched on price list items a little bit, and I'm going to go deeper into that in a moment. But generally we want to be using either time or a price list item. If you've set up kits, you can obviously add those in. But let's have a look at how I've structured this and what's in here. So I've put in stage 1 ground floor, stage 2 first floor, stage 3 general, just to give you a good idea of how these sections work. Now this top bold line is a section. If I was to add a timeline in and not add it to a section, it's just going to sit here at the top in unsectioned. Anything you add in that's a mistake, you can cross out. Anytime you add a line in as well, you want to zero out the quantity, otherwise you will be left with a dollar figure. And you'll know that from the sum at the bottom. The total will have a dollar figure in it, and for your templating purposes, you want everything to be zeroed out. So I have built this template, which I feel is a good example for you to look at to see we have got stage 1, which is our stage 1 ground floor, and you can put a description in here. So you could put everything that you're going to be doing in here, whether you're going to be doing render and texture coat or waterproofing or any of the other items that are going to be in here on ground floor that you're going to be putting in. And you can describe those as you wish. And then we have our price list items. So I've added in some beams. We don't put any quantity in yet because this is just our template. We assign it to the section that it should be in, and we hit OK. Now, I would imagine that you would have in your materials, which will be these price list items, I would imagine you would have 10, 12, 15 of those, and your quote template will be quite substantial. But the client doesn't see every single one of these line items. These are for internal use only, not for external use. And when we set up our settings and we toggled on and off quantities and unit prices, we turned these off so the client doesn't see them. If you do, let's say a square meter rate, and you do need to see quantity by rate, then you should go back and turn those back on. The second component here is, so we've just had a quick talk about our materials. The second component is obviously the labor that's associated with being on site. If you wrap your materials and labor into a square meter rate, then obviously just put your rates in. But if you split things up into labor versus materials, then I recommend you having 2 labor lines for each of these stages or sections, because we will want to go, let's say when we do this quote template, we will want to put in our allowance for how many people we think it's going to take. And then we also want to have a blank allowance item for things like if it's a job in the city, if there is significant travel time, if there is 4 guys going to site for 5 days and the site is half an hour away, you would want to add 1 hour for every person for every day on site into your allowance. That's above and beyond how much time they're going to be spending on site. Because I want to make sure that we cover every dollar, every cent, every minute, so that we can drive maximum profitability. So I want to show you how this will look. So I'm going to hit save and exit and show you how this template actually looks. So I'm going to go back to drafts. I'm going to pick out new quote from template. I'm going to grab my drop down for my residential, update my pricing, hit OK. And I need to put in a placeholder customer here in order for us to have a preview. I'm going to add myself in and hit preview. Once we have a quick look at it, I'm going to go back through and explain why these items are here. So our preview here is actually breaking up each line, and we do want to adjust our selection, our settings, to turn those off so that we can group stage 1 ground floor all together, stage 2 first floor together, so that we don't see these section lines. But you do have a good understanding now of stage 1 becomes a section and the items come in under. So I'm going to go save and exit. And I'm actually going to, well, let's leave that quote open. I'm going to go back to our settings, select quotes, wherever we are. Select document theme, standard theme, back to quotes, and we want to show sections, show section total. I'm going to remove show line items. Hit save on that. Actually, let's hit preview and just see how we look there first. Okay, it's not going to give us a very comprehensive preview, so I'm going to go back to our quotes and select our quote, look at preview and see how these selections have, how their permissions have changed. Cool, it's ruled everything out. So we've done too much on our settings. So I go back to settings, document theme, standard document theme, into quotes. We need to show line items, show sections, show totals. We want to show amount. So we remove show amount and see if that's going to give us the view that we are looking for. Go back to quotes, select my quote, have a look at preview. There we go. Now we can see the items that have been included. Now, do we want to show labor and allowance? Potentially not, and we might have to do some further fiddling to remove those items from there. Let's see if we can actually do it now. So we're going to go back to settings, document themes, standard theme. We have got quotes, show line items. How are we going to turn the show line items off? I wonder whether we can say show section total, show section line items, turn that off, hit save. This is going to be the permission, I reckon, that's going to give us the view that we want. Now, obviously, everybody wants a different view, but for the purpose of this example, I wanted to break things up into sections, but group them together. This is how we want it to look. We don't want the client to see our shopping list or our cutting list on the inside, but we still want to be able to record what we do need for that. So let's go save and exit. And then I'm going to go back through to my templates and I'm going to make this template better. Now that we have our permissions out of the way and we understand what we're going to be showing and not showing to the client, now we can build this out a little bit further. So I select my residential template and I'm coming back into my stages. I want to explain here, this example is obviously for a carpenter. We're going to say here, first fix of, and this is where I'm getting out of my realm now. How do I explain exactly what the service is? First fix of timber framing, and we might even go, it's not going to be supply, it's just going to be install. Cool. We're going to have that in there as well. For our stage 2 first floor, let's just go, this is the description of the works to this section. Cool. And stage 3, we're going to call this clean up of site and surrounding temp, fence and hoardings. That's one component. And hoarding, removal of hoarding and disposal of hoarding. You get the idea? You can add these in because these are very generic components. And we're going to hit save and exit now on our template and go back to our quote draft. And we're going to delete this one. And let's just hit delete on that because we have now fiddled with our template. So we want to jump back in and go a new quote template. And it's going to be from our residential template. Hit OK. And we're going to select a customer. If you don't have a customer and it won't let you preview. And let's see preview now of how this quote would look for the client to receive. So see how we've put in some descriptions of our sections, but the subtotals will still be broken up for them. Now you can be as descriptive as you want in your sections, but the client doesn't see the amount of hours, the amount of allowance, they don't see the number of boxes of screws and bags of nails and whatever else that's included, whether it's glue, whether it's adhesives. You can have those on your internal side, but the client only sees what we have here. Now, there is one additional component that you can add, is that you could add a sales description in here. This is the general sales blurb to explain and add value to the customer that is not scope related. And we could put in even here, we could have a bulleted list, works to include, not limited to, and we may go as well, go bold, and you might have a list of specific exclusions. Item 1, concrete, ramps, you get the idea. So let's just hit save and continue. We're going to hit our preview and have a look at how our job description, our quote description looks. See how there's slight additions in here. So you can fiddle with how you want the sales copy to be laid out, and you can also fiddle with how you want your quote description to be laid out. So description being the scope area. Now let's go back and just finalize. We're going to hit save and exit. We're going to finalize our template and just tidy it up a little bit. So we're back into our template and we decide that we want to actually add a different piece. It's time. We're going to zero out the area and we're going to add a section for general site requirements. Or even better, let's call this living away from home allowances. Occasionally this is going to pop up. We've just created ourselves a new section. We don't necessarily need to put a description in there, but we're just going to put a placeholder in and hit save and exit. Now if we go back, we go new quote from template, our residential update billing prices, we can see that we've actually added another section in. And if we hit preview, we notice that we've got our living away from home allowances in there as well. So I hope that gives you a really good understanding of how to create your job template. Now, an additional item here is that we have, and I have used price list items. These are price list items that sit in here. These are obviously the labor rates that we did in our settings. When we are playing with price list items, I want you to, now that you have an understanding about how the template should be set out, and you're probably thinking, I know how I want my template to be laid out now. So we're going to go to settings, we're going to go to price list, we're going to create a price list category. You could call them whatever your suppliers' names, could be ADX, it could be Bunnings, but get some categories going so that you can organize your price list to make your life easier to find them. And then we're going to create our price list items. So we're going to go new price list item, item code. We could probably call this T for timber 001. The sell price of it, it's $12 a length. It's tax exclusive, so it'll add $12 onto that. Unit of measure is lineal meter. Miscellaneous is not the price list category, it's from supplier 1. GST is added on, and we can hit save on that. Now, with this price item T001, we can go back to our quotes, and I would like you to do this with all of your price list items, all of the items that you use, screw, glue, etc. And now we want to add that price list item to our stage 1 general floor, stage 1 ground floor. We're going to add new price list item. We remember the code, it's T001. This is where codes become important, because you will know what code you use quite frequently. We're going to select the quantity for that at 0, and we are also going to add it to the section that we require. Now, the only thing that I've missed here is the unit cost. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back, save and continue, or save and exit. I'm going to go back to our settings, back to our price list item. We're going to select our price list item. We're going to add the measures in. And we want to use our sell price. This item is purchased from a supplier. We'll toggle that on so that we can select either a markup or I want to enter the price. So let me select the price. We want to go to, I want to enter the price, standard markup. This will then give us our buy price. Our buy price will be $6 per lineal meter. We can select the supplier that it's from, but we've still got our item code. You can put the description in there of what the exact item is. And we have our purchase price or our sell price, our buy price, so we get it from the supplier. GST is added in there, and we can hit save. Let's put Bunnings down as the supplier and hit save. Now we're going to jump back into our quote template and just have a look at how that has affected our price list item. So treated timber, sorry, not treated timber, it's T001. What we need to do is we need to remove that now and add it in again because we've edited the price list item. Edit the price list item, we're adding a T001. We're going to add that line item in, see our unit cost is now in, and we can add it to our section. The only annoying piece here is that we can't duplicate our quote templates, so you will need to build them out manually over and over, but you will get quite quick at doing them, and I can explain to you how we're building out a quote template whilst actually doing it, so you will very well be able to be on the phone to clients and also be able to build out quote templates, because once you have done one, it is very easy to build several. There we go, I'm adjusting so my labor sits down below, so my materials are at the top, my labor's below, materials at the top, labor's below, and then we've got the other two items in there. Save and continue, and that is generally how to build a quote template. I hope this has given you although quite a fast run through. Hope this has given you a good idea of the potential capabilities that you can have by setting up your quote templates, how you can make life faster, easier, and also convey a lot more information so that you don't have to have a notebook, some random workings, some scribbles, flip back through 100 pages. You can find your quote templates, you can find all the information, all of your workings, all contained within the quote section of Tradify. So any questions as well, shoot them out to me, because I know that there are a lot of complexities and nuances that go along with setting up your own personal quote templates. But I hope this gives you a good start so that when we do have a chat about it, we can actually have a bit more of an educated conversation about it.